I'm John Hanna for CityTV.net here in New York City, and we have John McCowan, the CEO of Two Rivers Water Company, joining us from Colorado Springs. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. How are you today?
Great, sir. And yourself?
I'm doing very well.
Okay, so let's talk about your industry. I want to get into this thing now because I've been reading some reports out there that there's some water issues somewhere in the on the west coast, and I wanted to, since you're a water and a farm company, wanted to get some more information about it. So let's give the listeners a background about your company.
Well, Two Rivers Water Company is an irrigated farming company and a wholesale water supplier to municipalities in the West. And our current center of our operations is in southern Colorado, where we have 70,000 acre-feet of storage and surface rights and the opportunity to also deliver a certain amount of groundwater. And we probably will have about 4,000 acres of irrigated farmland in production next year in the 2012 growing season. And we also have the opportunity to provide municipalities that are water short in Front Range of Colorado with water that can help them with their difficulty. In the western United States, water is a water right or a property right, and it's something that's transferable by deed, and that's because there's always been a shortage of water out west.
Okay, it seems to me like almost every year, especially during the summertime, there's always a water scarcity problem out on the west coast.
Well, the difference between us and other water companies is most privately held, publicly traded water companies, or not most, all of them in the past, haven't engaged in irrigated farming. And irrigated farming is really the water bank for future municipal use. And the two businesses don't have to work against each other. They can work in cooperation with each other, and that's what our business model does. We farm, we do irrigated farming, we grow organic alfalfa and corn, and when there are times of drought, rather than municipalities going out and trying to buy some of your best farm acreage and drying it up, we simply can rotationally fallow some of our farmland, deliver water during those periods of drought, and then when we're in relatively wet periods, we can continue to farm, and that way you're not in this dry and buy cycle where you're moving water to municipalities and it never comes back out. Because the truth is you need not just water for drinking and other things you do in a municipality. You also have to eat, and when you can satisfy both demands from the same source of water, it's a much better solution. It's a greener solution. It's a holistic solution.
Okay, so pretty much as an investor, let's say for example, listening to the show, when planning to invest into farmlands and waterland companies, publicly traded companies or private even companies, what should they be looking for?
Well, like with all companies, they should be looking at our ability to grow and establish sustained revenues. And typically in the past, when you had a water company that wasn't farming, the municipalities could wait them out. They know that they're going to be around no matter what, and they're going to have their water customers no matter what. And if you come to them and try to sell them water, the problem is that they view you as a speculator and someone who they can just wait out in terms of doing some transaction with you to sell them water. But if you're a farmer, an irrigated farmer, and in this particular environment we're in right now, where farming is so profitable, you're going to be around just as long as they are. You're going to be growing your crops just as long as they are, and so they view you completely differently. And So an investor should be looking for a company that has the ability to grow its revenues substantially, which we do, and they should have the ability to capture some sort of enduring economic advantage, which we do. We fundamentally can put in irrigated farmland that's capable of producing 200 plus bushels of corn per acre for half the price that you see in other places. So where that farmland today might be going for somewhere between $8,000 and $10,000 an acre on a cap rate in the Midwest, we can put in our farmland that is a modern state-of-the-art farm with computer-driven irrigation systems, laser-leveled land, great equipment, and high-tech farmers. We can put that in for about $4,000 an acre. That $4,000 an acre generates about $1,350 a year in gross revenue, and our contribution margins are running about 50 to 60%. So on the front end, we're capturing the arbitrage of our enduring economic advantages inside our system that allow us to put in farmland for half the price that you can put it in someplace else. And then when we move that same asset to the municipal side, we capture that arbitrage as well, which is what everybody's looking for. So fundamentally, we've got an asset that's around $50 million in market cap right now that we expect over the next 5 years to grow to $1 billion market cap.
Now, let's talk about you've said that you have the irrigated farmlands, and that's because of your water rights, and you have your water part of your business. Now, you're getting two sources of water, right? From the mountainside with the snow, and then you have the water again from the Colorado Basin, right?
That's almost right. The mountains during the winter in Colorado are your first source of storage, and so everybody's familiar with the amount of snow that we receive in Colorado, and Colorado is the only state in the continental United States that has no rivers flowing into it. All of our rivers flow out. The Colorado, the Rio Grande, the Arkansas, the South Platte, all of those rivers flow out and flow to other states and eventually end up in either the Gulf of Mexico or in one of the oceans. So the water source or one of our first water sources is what's stored in the mountains. A second source of water for us is groundwater that's stored in the Vermeo Trinidad Basin where we're located, and we expect to be able to capture water both from the snowmelt and from the groundwater source in our reservoirs. And in Colorado, that's most important. The climate to the east of the Rocky Mountains, which is the population centers, gets if you don't retime the water, if you don't capture it in reservoirs when it comes out of the mountains, then it's down the rivers and out of the state. And so one of the most valuable water rights that you can have in Colorado is the storage right. And we've got 70,000 acre-feet of storage. 70,000 acre-feet of storage can support quite a bit of population, and we believe or we know that we can use that source of water to help offset the shortage problems on the Front Range of Colorado.
Okay, just wanted to make sure that companies like yourself do have some backup resource just in case. I mean, we're talking about the water crisis on the West, and next thing that I want to talk to you about would be food. I mean, I don't know if it's I don't want to call it a crisis because it's not an official crisis yet. Is that true?
It's a shortfall in demand that we can see that's looming. We know that there's some areas that are short water right now, and we can help them with that. There's some areas that they have an anticipated shortage because of the depletion of their groundwater. So it's not a crisis today, but it's a problem that's around the corner.
Okay, because it's always like that. People would say, "Oh, yeah, it's a crisis because you're a water company. It's a crisis because you're a farm company. It's a crisis because you're whatever company." That kind of stuff. Now, yeah, like I said, I just want to make sure that we are not creating an issue when it's not yet an issue. That kind of stuff. Now, see, the other thing right now is that if there's a water shortage, then that's gonna affect farmlands or farms, and then when farms are affected, then there's gonna be a food issue. So I just want to go through with the whole life cycle of water, and from water to food. How are you guys with your farmlands?
Well, we believe that we have a holistic approach to it, where you're balancing your food needs with your farm needs, and we don't permanently dry up any farmland. And so during time periods of drought, we're able to supply the municipalities with additional water. During periods of a relatively more wet period, then we'll increase our crop production.
Okay, so the other big market out there is China, with regards to food supplies. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, strangely enough, October 31st, 2011, the United Nations says that the population now on planet Earth is officially 7 billion people, and they say that that's doubling. There was a great article in the London Times. They say that that's double. Last century, that doubled on average every 14 years, and the last I take that back. A billion people were added to the population every 14 years in the last century, and the last incremental add of a billion people came in just 11 years. So that the 7 billion people that are out there right now, the allocation of resources are being for farm resources, irrigated farmland, crop production is starting to be strained. And so one of the best things that we do in the United States is grow crops. We're net exporters of crops, and so that allows us to compete internationally. And that competition is going up dramatically because the world's middle class population is growing dramatically in China, India, Brazil, Russia, the BRIC countries, and other emerging middle-class countries. They're now demanding, and they have the capital, the money to pay for it, a higher quality protein, a more diverse diet. And so that's part of the reason why we're seeing the upward pressure in the price of food, and we think that that will continue. And for us, that means that over the next several decades, farming will be a very, very attractive business to be in.
And where can people find your company online?
We're currently traded under the symbol TURV. We are OTC BX right now. We've applied to an exchange, and we expect to be on exchange in the first quarter of next year.
And the website?
Our website is the number 2, then tworiverswater.com.
Okay, that's John McCohen, CEO of Two Rivers Water Company, joining us from Colorado Springs, and I'm John Hanna for CDTV.net in New York.